Were you killed?
Sadly, yes. But I lived.
Neona has perhaps the most fascinating production of any movie on this list. It was originally being produced by the late Blue Sky Studios, but after Disney bought 20th Century Fox, they closed the studio and Neona was cancelled despite being 3/4 through production. It was a crushing blow to be sure, but after a year of all hope seeming lost on this movie, Netflix and Annapurna Pictures stepped in to complete and release Blue Sky's swan song, and the result is their best movie by a long shot. For one, I loved the science fantasy aesthetic it had going for it. The art style kinda reminded me of Zelda Breath of the Wild with the cel-shaded animation, and it made for a visual delight with loads of creativity and a great score. However, at its core, Neona is a movie about the dangers of stereotypes and the importance of accepting who you are. Nemona's shapeshifting is an obvious metaphor for being queer, but I think it can be applied to any sort of marginalized community and still be just as poignant. It has a lot of great comedy with some impeccable chemistry between Chloe Grace Moretz and Riz Ahmed, but at the same time, the emotional moments hit like a freight train with its commentary on how demonizing and stigmatizing people just for their differences can do massive damage to their mental well-being. Honestly, I find it amazing how this movie, which is primarily targeted at younger audiences, was able to tackle subjects like depression and suicide in an incredibly tasteful and respectful manner, even more than some other projects claiming to be more adult. And in addition to its powerful message of self-acceptance, not to mention how it has some refreshingly prominent queer representation, Neona is just a really good movie. It's insanely creative, consistently hilarious, and all around entertaining. It's only number 5 because I really didn't like Beck Bennett's character Todd, but other than that, this was a perfect note for Blue Sky to go out on. Even if the studio's filmography was consistently mediocre, it's still unfortunate they were killed off so soon before they could have been able to find their place among the modern animation crowd. But maybe the spirit of Blue Sky might live on after all, seeing as how Annapurna Animation already has some new movies in development with a couple former Blue Sky employees at the helm. And in that regard, I'm even more thankful Neona was able to exist, not just through the message in the movie, but also through the message from the movie and the people who made it. Blue Sky never dies. You would not believe how much I wanted this to make the top 3. Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse was one of the most hyped up movies of 2023, especially considering how it's a sequel to one of the best animated films of the past decade. The result was absolutely worth the hype, despite the nightmarish working conditions the animators were put through. But I feel like that's not really a good reason to hate this movie, as there's plenty of examples of terrible people being involved in otherwise amazing pieces of media. Let's get back on track now because there is a lot to talk about regarding Across the Spiderverse. Like, just look at it. Look at how incredible this animation is. Look at all the different art styles it manages to flawlessly balance while providing some of the most captivating action to come out this year, in addition to it having one of the best underscores in any superhero movie, period. And that's not even beginning to mention just how masterfully written this movie is. Miles Morales has some incredible development with him trying to find his place in the world while having to deal with other people telling him he's not good enough. It's not only a strong metaphor for the whiny snowflake film nerds who insist that Miles can't be Spider-Man because he's not Peter Parker, but it also gives him a great arc as he tries to stop a dangerous new threat to the multiverse while being pitted against almost every spider person out there. And Miles isn't the only compelling main character here, as Gwen Stacy also gets some fantastic development. She has her own arc about having to choose between protecting herself or the people she cares about, while also serving as a great metaphor for the transgender experience. Also, yes, I 100% believe Gwen is trans. It may not have been confirmed in the movie, but it's true in my heart, damn it. The rest of the cast, both old and new, are also excellent, with Miguel O'Hara and The Spot serving as excellent villains, and Spider-Punk and Spider-Man India providing some of the best jokes in the movie. And the craziest part about all of this is that it's still not over yet. Across the Spiderverse managed to do something unprecedented for an animated film and ended on a massive cliffhanger that'll lead into Beyond the Spider-Verse sometime in either 2025 or 2026. And admittedly, that leads me to the only reason this isn't any higher, which is that sometimes it can feel a bit too ambitious for its own good, and I do think that the ending was kind of abrupt. Either way, that doesn't change how Across the Spider-Verse, like its predecessor, is easily one of the best superhero movies out there, and hopefully the final part in Miles' story can be just as good as well. I didn't see any trailers for Godzilla Minus One leading up to its release here in the US, and even if I had next to no idea of what I was getting into, I was blown away by what I saw. Given how it's a film about Godzilla, it's to be expected that there's a lot of scenes of the giant monster destroying buildings, attacking innocent people, causing chaos, that sort of thing, and all of those scenes are incredible. For one, the production design and costume design do a fantastic job conveying the late 1940s time period, and the score strikes a perfect balance of being terrifying and triumphant. But in addition to all that, Godzilla himself is a sight to behold. I find it astonishing how even on a paltry budget of $10 million, the VFX team did a phenomenal job crafting the title monster, a job truly worthy of the Oscar that they got. And surprisingly enough, outside of the Godzilla action, the script for -1 is masterfully written and thematically rich. It explores themes of trauma and survivor's guilt with the main character, while also having some thought-provoking social commentary on subjects like the effect of nuclear weapons and how governments can be ineffective at responding to tragedies. Even if some of the other Toho monster movies we've gotten from Hollywood in the past have provided some exciting action and groundbreaking effects, they tend to falter in terms of making the human characters memorable. With -1, on the other hand, the human drama perfectly balances out the kaiju destruction, making for an emotional and tragic look into the minds of characters like Shikishima-san. I wish I could say more about just how great this movie is, but it's not out on streaming at the time of recording, and it's something that has to be seen to be believed. Godzilla is a character who's existed for almost 70 years now, but this is without a doubt one of the best films to feature one of Japan's most iconic characters.
Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
Like the movie it shared a release date with, Oppenheimer was one of the most talked about releases of 2023. This was one of Christopher Nolan's most ambitious projects to date, chronicling the life of the scientist who played a massive role in creating the nuclear bomb. The result was one of the most critically successful films of the year, and Nolan's first time winning Best Director and Best Picture at the Oscars. And given how it made it this far on the list, it's safe to say that the praise was justified. It's an introspective look into J. Robert Oppenheimer, his career, and the results of his work, and even at 3 hours long, I was invested all the way through. And carrying all this is the stellar writing and electrifying performances. Cillian Murphy goes above and beyond as the title scientist, but the rest of the cast is also at the top of their game with this. Whether they have a major screen presence like Emily Blunt and Robert Downey Jr., or if they have a smaller role like Tom Conti and Gary Oldman, the actors absolutely sell the sheer gravity of the film. And that's not even beginning to go over the top-tier filmmaking. Christopher Nolan is at his apex in terms of writing and directing, delivering an experience that's shocking and intense, all while being introspective and using its gargantuan runtime to its fullest. Not only that, but as is standard practice with Nolan, this movie looks great. Of course, he's known for using practical effects and sets as much as possible, foregoing any uses of CGI unless absolutely necessary. And that continues in Oppenheimer, where there's next to no CGI present. Even during the nuke test, they used actual pyrotechnics and intricate editing techniques to make it all possible. And when paired with the extraordinary sound design, phenomenal score, and jaw-dropping cinematography, it makes for an experience truly unlike anything I've seen last year. Oh yeah, and there's also some great production design and costume design too, I suppose. Really, Oppenheimer is a movie that so many people have sung the praises of already, so I'm not sure there's much I can really add to this conversation, but that doesn't change its status as easily one of the best films of 2023 and a defining moment in Christopher Nolan's career. Now before I move on to number 1, I want to highlight a few honorable mentions. 2023 had some great movies, but not all of them were able to make the list. So here's a few that I wanted to give a shout out to for still being great in their own way. They are Asteroid City. Wes Anderson has an impressive track record when it comes to his movies, and that certainly applies to this one with its lovely visuals, great acting, and clever writing. Blue Beetle. As the unofficial beginning of the new DC cinematic universe, this made for an entertaining watch with some fun action and an enjoyable main character. Creed 3. It's a great start to Michael B. Jordan's career as a director with in-depth character development and easily some of the best fight scenes in the franchise. Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. It honestly sucks that this movie didn't do very well at the box office. It's really entertaining, funny, creative, and visually stunning, and I've never even played D&D, so this was certainly a good first impression. Gran Turismo. Probably one of the most underrated movies I saw this year. The racing is exciting and there's plenty of strong drama to balance it out. It may not be for everyone, but I still found it to be a worthwhile experience. Migration. For the standards of a regular animated movie, it's pretty solid. Its heart is in the right place, the animation is loaded with energy and expressiveness, and the voice actors all did a good job. But when taking into account how this is from Illumination, it's surprising that they were able to make something of actually high quality compared to their largely mediocre output. It's a surprise to be sure, but definitely a welcome one. Missing. This is another movie I haven't seen much discussion of after it came out, and I find that a bit unfortunate because this is a really good movie with a unique presentation and some surprising twists. Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. Tom Cruise and Christopher McQuarrie have done it again. The action and stunts are without a doubt some of the craziest in the series, and all the while it provides an interesting story with a great new villain. Here's hoping Part 2 can be just as good as well. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem. This is without a doubt the peak of this franchise, with the new Turtles being an absolute blast to hang around, in addition to the electrifying action, killer soundtrack and score, and the incredible animation taking a page from Spiderverse in crafting this movie's unique appearance. And with this being the start of a new chapter for the Ninja Turtles, I cannot wait to see what Nickelodeon has in store for them. And finally, Wonka. I really wanted this to be able to make the list. It's without a doubt one of the most heartwarming movies I've seen last year. It has some fantastic musical numbers and lovely visuals, while at the same time being unbelievably charming and endearing as an origin story for the title character. There may have been better movies to have come out in 2023, but I had such a great time watching Wonka that I couldn't pass up on giving it a mention. Consider it number 11 if you would. And now, the best movie of 2023. When you think of Studio Ghibli, there's probably one prominent name that comes to your mind: Hayao Miyazaki. He's responsible for some of the studio's most iconic films, with his latest one, The Boy and the Heron, honestly being one of his best. I mean, it made it to number 1 on this list, so that should probably tell you something about how good it was. This is a movie about how not only life is precious because it's finite, but also about legacy and the desire to live up to the standards of others. It can also be seen as a commentary on Miyazaki-san himself, as unfortunately he's not going to be around forever. But even if his talent is basically impossible to replicate, that shouldn't stop people from wanting to create unforgettable stories to inspire new generations. And the way T-Bath showcases these themes is in the form of one of the most narratively engaging and emotionally rich films to come from Studio Ghibli. The world building is insanely immersive with a surprisingly great use of the multiverse, which helps to make for some excellent character development. Not only do the characters perfectly help to highlight this movie's themes, but the voice acting in the English dub is fantastic. Honestly, I'm surprised that for his first time in a voice role, Robert Pattinson did such a great job in this movie, kind of feeling like a spiritual successor to Willem Dafoe, who, ironically enough, was also in this movie. And all the while, T-Bath supplies no shortage of beautiful animation per the standards of Studio Ghibli. From the character designs to the environments to the fantastical magic moments, there is no shortage of eye candy in this movie. Overall, The Boy and the Heron is the perfect showcase of the legacy of not only Hayao Miyazaki, but Studio Ghibli as a whole. I know I kinda got some flack for this opinion in my original review, but I stand by it. This movie is amazing. It's got some incredibly poignant themes on life and death while also being well written, entertaining, heartbreaking, and uplifting. And although it has been said that Miyazaki-san might have at least one more movie left in him, if this is his grand finale, I couldn't think of a better note to go out on. Not only is it one of the best movies he's made, but it's without a doubt the best film I've seen in 2023. And with that, I'm finally done with my 2023 rankings. I'm sorry for the long wait in between videos. A lot got in the way of their progress, from school to hobbies to, of course, other videos. But now I can look forward to the rest of the year, and I have a feeling it'll be another big one. Even with me moving to a new country this summer, I'll still be providing a consistent stream of new videos and maybe some other content on the side. I'm really excited for what's in store for the rest of the year, both in my life and with all the stuff I plan to review. And if you're excited for all that, I'd suggest subscribing to my channel for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.